Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Karen Strauss. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. With me is Francis Lewis, who's chair of the Open Space Committee. We have Keith Johnson, who's going to be our timekeeper later on. He's the conservation agent. And Amy Ekman is going to be our moderator once we open up the floor. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on the town website and broadcast on Channel 18 later. So Wiley Park and Nickerson Conservation Area, which we're here to discuss tonight, are both conservation areas. Wiley Park is 44 acres. Nickerson is 26.5 acres. Between them, they have 3 freshwater ponds, fish passages, shrub swamps, certified vernal pools. Both Wiley Park and Nickerson are completely within the priority habitat for rare species under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act. This means that these areas are designated for rare plants and wildlife in these habitats, and it means that any work that gets done on the property does need to have state approval. The blue lines here shown are the 100-foot buffer zones to the protected wetlands. The property is under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Eastham Wetlands Bylaw, so any work within those buffer zones also needs to be permitted. So if somebody's making an opening out to the pond, that needs to come to the Conservation Commission for permitting. So I'm going real quickly because I want to leave a lot of time for you all to speak. So we're going to note some of the observations that have been reported to us. So there have been a number of new openings created to Great Pond and the other ponds for access by people, boats, and dogs. In some cases, we've seen signs of saws and loppers used to cut branches. People have been using these for beach chairs and for launching boats. We've also seen that a number of dogs are not under immediate and effective voice control as required by the town bylaw. We've seen an increase in unleashed dogs and unleashed dogs in large packs and conflicts between users. So there's been a number of new openings created to Great Pond and the other ponds, and that's been causing some issues. People have been also showing up with their beach chairs and picnics and so on, and using these openings, launching kayaks, and there's been destruction of vegetation, which has caused increased erosion around the edge of the pond. We've also observations reported to us that a number of dogs are not under the immediate and effective voice control of their owners as required by the town bylaw if they're off leash, and an increase in the number of unleashed dogs and dogs in large packs. There's been conflicts reported to us of between unleashed and leashed dogs and between unleashed dogs and humans, and increase of usage of the area by dog owners from other towns, as well as early morning and late hour use and use of the trails for off-road bike riding. So those are all some of the concerns that we've observed. Francis?
This restoration area was done by the Forest Committee and the 1651 people last April. Last spring, if you walk there, you've seen it. And they planted scrub oak and bayberry, and there was some blueberry there, and it's protected. And they're coming along well through a lot of TLC by that group. Here is some openings into the pond that have been made. I'd like you to notice where you see this sand, it means the vegetation's been worn down and gone. So without the vegetation holding the soil, you get sand, and then you're going to get erosion. The big one over at the top is one we're really concerned about. You can see it's almost like a foot down into the water, so there's a lot of erosion there. So that really needs some attention. Here are examples.
Can I say something?
Okay. And then these are examples of, there are some hazardous trees that need to be dealt with in both Wiley and Nickerson. And the big picture on the left, you can see there's erosion there because you can see the roots. And here, there's just a little bit of the pine needles left on the land. These trees need to be taken down and used in another way. Here is another example. You have sand here, and you can see erosion because of the height of the bench. It's higher than, of course, it was set in. And this is the bridge. And just people walking next to the bridge, you disturb the vegetation, so then you're back down to bare sand again. Now, we have some immediate plans of things we need to do. We have to restore the vegetation and habitat along the pond. We have to have much better conservation area signage at the entrances, both at Wiley Park, Herring Run, and the Cole Road entrances. And they have to explain that this is a conservation area, and these are the rules and expectations for using a conservation area. We need new signage on those trail markers, and those fallen trees you saw, we like to use those to block off areas that are in need of restoration, or to more clearly show where the trail line should be. And then, of course, we need added signage concerning boat launching and bicycle use. Oh, here's just a note from Karen. This PowerPoint will be available on the Conservation Commission webpage, so you can go back to it and look at it and digest it, in a more leisurely fashion. But we wanted to sort of rush through this so that you have your time to talk.
All right, good evening, everyone. Okay, speakers will have up to 3 minutes. I think Keith he's got a bell over there, so he'll be ringing the bell. So, as you can see up here, encouraged not to just talk about experiences and issues, but to make suggestions for how we can make things better out there. Please be respectful of speakers, and especially if they have differing viewpoints than your own. And, I guess my decision's final. I hadn't seen that, so. All right, so we have 2 microphones. If people want to come up and talk, state your name, and let us hear it.
First of all, thank you for doing this. We appreciate it, to everybody. I have 2 questions. The first is, how have you...
So let me stop you right there. It's not going to be a back and forth.
Okay.
It's just going to be listening to your
Okay.
concerns and things like that.
Then I'll make 2 points. One is that I haven't seen any evidence that links the use or dogs off leash specifically and increased erosion. Erosion happens because of liquid water movement, and why it's happening more in Wiley could be due to a lot of things. The extreme weather, the drought we've had, and such. And my second point is, I'm not quite sure how dogs off leashes are thought to cause more erosion than dogs on leashes, or people walking, or strollers being pushed. And I'm not quite sure why that's been the focus of the solution to this problem. I would think we'd want to look at covering the paths with something that was more permanent, so that even people walking through didn't brush the pine needles off. And I certainly think more signage so that people know what the rules are and know exactly which paths we're supposed to be on, instead of assuming that things that look like paths aren't really paths. Thank you.
Great, thank you. See, that was easy.
Hi, Ed Casarella, I chair the Recreation Commission, and the commission thinks that this is a perfect area for dogs and their owners. In addition, the commission thinks that at this point in time, we should look at expanding more active recreation in the area, such as pickleball courts and the possibility of exercise trails. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dave Ritchie. I live in Eastham. I'm also a member of the 1651 Friends of Arboretum. Basically what we do is we plant all the vegetation and trees for several years in Wiley Park. So trying to give nature a chance to get back. We all remember Wiley Park, you think about the Cape was clear cut, just for information purposes. It's hard to keep things growing there because of the use, and it's human use and animals using. So we're packing down the dirt. That's why you see the sand. It's all from human and dogs walking. I'm not against dogs. I have no intention of wanting to ban dogs at this park. I think that nothing better if I had a golden retriever, he'd be in the pond. But I think we need to educate all of ourselves on how we can protect the natural resources. Protecting it is just like the national parks do. You have the 2,000-year-old sequoias. People love them to death. They go up and hug them, stand around them. What are they doing? They're packing down the tree, around the tree, the roots. That's how we get the nourishment, and they were killing the trees. The parks just taught people you can't go walking up near the trees so that they'll be there for another 1,000 years. So the same thing's happening in Wiley Park. I go there all the time, watering all summer long. I see how many dogs are there. There's a lot of people that don't live in Eastham. There's a lot of renters that come with their families. It's a big tradition now to come and go swimming. That's a fine thing, but the dogs run through the woods. Again, more traffic damages vegetation. And remember, what does erosion do? It damages our aquifers, right? We live here because we have fresh water. We have the herring run growing in the Great Pond. We've got Great Pond, goes right into our aquifer. I have a freshwater well. The town is a well that's in the aquifer. We need to protect our natural resources. It's a slow death. We're only mitigating it by the septic systems. A lot of things like that are going to help the ponds, but that's a long ways off, and the mitigation needs to start from us as humans using our natural resource to the best enjoyment. I suggest that we, putting up signs, I'm against sign pollution. I think there's 1 million signs at Wiley Park right now. They're all over the place. Maybe they need to be just a little bit more concise and educational, but I think the best thing to do would be to get everybody here concerned about the natural resources and be able to continue to use Wiley Park and the pond for their dogs to go swimming, because we're gonna have algae blooms. You won't be able to let your dogs in there. So it's up to us for the next generations to protect the ponds and the conservation lands. How can we do that? Volunteer, get a flyer from the Conservation and Open Space Committee, and educate the people using the park so they know they shouldn't be going near the herring run. We shouldn't be opening up new paths. There's 6 new paths at Great Pond. I know this for a fact. I go there all the time watering. Those paths weren't there 6 or 7 years ago. There's more being open, okay? Examples of dog behavior. Again, I'm not against dogs, so don't everybody get up and say, I'm not. I'm in favor of keeping dogs there. I don't really care if they're on leash or off, as long as the dogs are not doing any more damage, and that what we try not to do as humans, we don't damage the park. Let's not have the dogs do it. People let their dogs run through the woods. We're planting the day, just as a factual example, observation. Planting day, one quick finish up. Planting day, 20 dogs at the beach. People were gathering with their dogs. No one had any poop bags, not one person. I was there for 2 hours. I was watching for an hour.
Okay, David, I'm
person
gonna
pulled
have
up.
to stop you. You can come
Okay.
back up after
And
somebody else has had a
I
chance,
witnessed
okay?
dogs running into the woods pooping, and the people that didn't go and pick up. It's a fact. It's very observational.
Somebody tall. Okay. A couple of quick things.
Could you state your name, please?
Mindy. My name is Mindy. The first thing is just to get out off my chest. I listened to the Open Space Committee meeting of 2/15/23. Oh, sorry. Is that better? Okay. I have to write things down because I have a good memory. I listened to that meeting. I was a little concerned about that meeting because all I heard was a meeting about leashing dogs. That's what the entire meeting was about. It didn't really feel like this was a listening meeting. It feels like it's a foregone conclusion, and that concerns me a bit. But in case I'm wrong, I understand the problem. I understand erosion is an issue. I understand the 6 new openings are an issue. That's not being done by dogs. That's being done by people. It's done by people with families. It's done with people with kayaks. I normally can't even take my dog to the water because the fishing people are there. The people with their families are there. The people with their beach chairs are there. And honestly, if I have my dog on a leash and I have a 6-foot or more leash, my dog can still go off the path. The issue is keeping people and dogs on the path and not and it is going to have to be education, and it is a problem because we have so many people who come in from other towns or come in for the summer, and that's just, it's just a reality, right? I mean, it's a reality of living in a beach town. It's a reality, erosion is a reality. There are things we can do, and maybe, maybe there has to be somebody standing along the path at the beginning. I mean, I know that's money. Telling people who come into the park, these are our rules, and if you want to be here, you have to stay on the path, your dog has to stay on the path, and there should be more fencing around sensitive areas because that just keeps them out of that area and lets it reestablish itself. Certainly, yeah, we don't want a lot of signs, but you need signs to tell people to stay on the trails. And I think that's it for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm David Gilchrist. I live in Eastham. I bought my house here 25 years ago. I've always had dogs. This whole meeting is just ridiculous. Every person I see twice a day, every day at Wiley Park, everyone picks up after their dogs. Everyone. Everybody I walk with. No, you're wrong. You are wrong. Am I right?
Okay, folks.
And when I go to
If you
Wiley
could, if you could address your comments to the
Okay, all
committee
right,
members.
when I go to Wiley Park, I bring 3 bags with me every single day. And I pick up, if I see somebody else's dog, Phyllis, poop, I pick it up. But anyway, everyone picks up after their dogs. Here's fellow dog walkers all around me. Let's not turn this into New Jersey where there's restrictions and laws, which is why I left New Jersey. Okay, I'm done.
Hi, my name is Francie Williamson. I live in Eastham, and I have a dog that I love. I love Wiley Park, and these are the things that I've seen over the past few years, which upset me. And I know it's really hard to husband the forest in the park, but that's really what I think what the Conservation Commission, and I don't know about the Open Space Committee, maybe they try to do it, I don't know. All the trees that blew down 2 years ago are still lying there. It's been incredibly dry. Everything, it's kind of scary. The drought that we've been having, I mean, there's fire hazards. Visitors come here, they smoke in the park and throw their butts. I mean, everybody who lives here, who uses Wiley and the Nickerson trails and Cottontail Acres and the whole network around the ponds, I feel respect what we've got. They love what we got, and we would all like to help to keep, to preserve it. And that, I think we all want that. But we also, but we want to be able to walk there. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do. What will we do about clearing the dead wood? What will we do about the invasive species, brambles that are like all, I don't really know. I'm not a forest expert. Maybe we should get one. But I really do think that we can coexist. I think a lot of the problem that I've seen is the high use in the summer with visitors. That little beach, which, my grandkids adore, is so jammed, and it's so jammed, and there's the picnic tables, and, we encourage people to come and use it. So how do we protect it while we are encouraging people to use it is a question I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I broke it.
Uh-oh. You have to dance if you...
Hi, my name is Tom Troiano, and I live in Eastham. And I'm at Wiley Park probably 10 times a week. A lot of people I know here are the same. And I'd just like to make 2 brief comments. Being there 500 times a year easily for 10 years, I think that the people who are there, who are in this room tonight and are there many, many times, are like what Dave said. We have multiple poop bags, and we're trying to be very respectful of the resource. What I see in the summer is often different from that, is people with, beach chairs and coolers and other things that are definitely widening some of the openings to the water near where the snow fence is now. And I don't know whether they need a little more education from the attendant in the parking lot. But I also see people putting kayaks in places where they probably shouldn't be. Maybe we need to think about allowing people to put their kayaks in right on the main beach. I don't know how disruptive why we don't allow that in the first place and how disruptive that would be. So I think this is more about people, and I agree with the others who've said that it's more about people than dogs. On a good day, I weigh 3 or 4 times more than my dog. And I know from that one spot over the bridge where there was the kind of a log in the water that those roots are, people step on them. I step on them, and the sand becomes loosened, and when the water level rises, it comes out. Dogs step over that. So I think this is more about people than dogs, and I hope that everybody here recognizes that. Thank you.
Judy Parmalee, Lupin Way. I don't have a dog right now, so today I went over to check out Wiley to see what it was like, because I hadn't been there in a while. And I was really impressed with the status of it. I didn't see any poop bags lying around. I didn't see any trash. The plants that were planted a couple years ago, where they're fenced in, are doing very well, which I was very happy with. And I am getting my granddog tomorrow, so I'll be going for the next week, everybody. But I really wanted to look to see if there was something I wanted to bring up at this meeting. And frankly, I don't think it's that different from when I moved here 20 years ago. And so I think if we just maintain it the way it is, and that I think we're in good shape, frankly. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
My name is Meredith Harris. I live on Samoset and I abut the property. I have a 9-year-old poodle, and when I got my poodle, I made a contract with him that he and I would keep each other active and busy. He's done his part. I don't know whether I can say I have. But one of the things I think is important to share is the issue of alternatives. So if a dog is not well exercised, and it's not just his feet, I cannot run as fast as my 50-pound poodle anymore. So if he were on a leash, it would look like olive oil, flying behind. So being the opportunity to have him off leash is essential. If he's not well exercised, and not only his feet, his brain, his nose, when he's in the conservation land, he is a conservation agent himself. He lets me know when the box turtles are out. He gives him, Mom, they're here. Mom, did you hear the peepers? And so he makes my enjoyment of my property that much better. But dogs have to be active, and in the summer when they cannot go to the public beaches, then Wiley and that conservation area is extremely helpful. One day, 2 years ago in August, he had not been well run. He was on the front lawn, he saw a car and said, I can run faster than that car. Well, he couldn't. They tangled in the wheels, and now his hip is disarticulated permanently. He could not bear weight on that one leg. Where did I take him? I took him to Wiley Park. Initially, I watched his paw prints. 3, a toenail, 2 toenails, a touchdown. That park restored my dog. He needs to run. If he doesn't run, he not only is chasing, and every person who comes down Samoset gets the call out, bark, 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 please. So what I just want also to say, when our kennel was closed and I didn't have options, I've been to Thompson Field. Saturday, the day before Easter, I went to the Brewster New Park. I circled for 10 minutes for a parking space. So, it's not like, we have people come here, I try to go other places as well. I go to Thompson Field on a regular basis. It's pretty open, and in the summer it's hot. Asphalt is hot on dogs. So the one advantage that Wiley and Cottontail and all those surrounding areas, it's a cool area, it's a soft area. It was, for my dog, a rehabilitation place. For me, a place I can go, commune with nature, and share it with my pet. So I am very much encouraging that dogs have some place where they can be active and do what dogs do, because if they don't, they become pests. And not only in your own house, but the neighbors' houses as well. So I would just wanted to present my personal story of my pup and me, and how much I appreciate that conservation, and how readily and willing I am to be an active participant in whatever management might be needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ed Daniels. I'm a member of the Eastham Dog Owners Association Board, and I hope you will bear with me. I tried as I might. I couldn't get this down to 3 minutes. Sorry, it's a little over. But I am a little disappointed that we only have 2 members of our boards here. Aren't there about 12 members, I think, on those boards? I wish they were here to listen to my fantastic speech.
It's being recorded.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll be able to listen to it.
It would have been a quorum.
And I
it
also
would have been an
included a
official
copy
meeting
of it
and all
for
that,
you
so.
there, so we'll get it out there. We were disappointed and surprised to hear the plans to ban off-leash dogs at Wiley Park from the CONSCOM. We got defensive, and then we got involved in conversation. And the conversation issues get solved this way. The Open Space Committee and the EDOA took a tour. There were positive conversations and much common ground was found. Fran was with us. Dogs off leash, we didn't quite get agreement there. For 50 years, the town property and current rules applied. Wiley Park, purchased for conservation and recreation, is one of our most beloved places. But 50 years of use and popularity have left marks. We admit that. When those marks have been from dogs, EDOA has supported and suggested solutions. Now we ask for that opportunity again. EDOA is not an official body of town, but our over 200 member families have a record of community service and stewardship. We can help maintain the recreation we traditionally enjoy. The issues: protection of new plantings, on board, said so. We notified members of the process of 1651 in the Forest Committee. We requested compliance. It is working. Could use an exterior decorator. The new trails formed and forming, many clearly established by users such as anglers or water sport users. We recommend providing established access to remove the need for people bushwhacking. For example, the north edge of the beach could be used for watercraft entry, perhaps with a float demarcation to avoid the water plants and the swimmers. There are new openings to Great Pond near Bridge area, near the bridge. I frankly couldn't find anything that went through to the pond, but my eyes are fading a little bit, I guess. Several currently marked and established entryways there should remain as they are since the park was established. New and forming openings can be closed off by brush and plantings as needed. Leash the dogs in the parking lot, on board. Said so. We notified members that it was a good policy a year ago. Expansion of trails, a long, slow process that off-leash dogs do contribute toward. Let's delineate the trails clearly in areas of concern using brush and plantings to close off the nascent trails. Wildlife interactions. Educate and notify during times of activity. We're on board. We do that too. Notify people of those activities. Ticks, coyotes, etc. Some people are bothered by dogs. I'm not convinced that this is a conservation issue, but let's take a look at it. Safety is not the issue. 11 police reports have been made in 2 years. 6 of those were about lost or found dogs in the park. 4 of those calls were questions about the leash laws. 1 reported an attack at which there were no injuries. Here is where the cooperation of dog owners can really help, though. Enforce the current laws with cooperative compliance rather than more rules. Clearly describe what under voice control means and how it looks. Trained dogs and owners, we're on board. We can continue to do that. Publish an off-leash conduct on the trails pamphlet in conjunction with enforcement personnel. Many models exist from other off-leash conservation areas in this state and in others. We, as a cooperative community, can address the issues the CONSCOM has identified without new rules. Dog owners have responded in the past. The poop. When we first started cleaning up Wiley Park, we bagged 80 pounds of dog poop. Over the years, that amount decreased and decreased and decreased. The last several times we had our poop pickup parties, more fun than you think, we collected next to nothing. Next to nothing. We collected 25 pounds of human litter. We don't even have them anymore. We don't find that problem on the trails. We did that by changing the culture and by encouraging people to cooperate with the laws that are here now. When the county needed emergency shelter help, EDOA volunteered. We responded to every call-up. Lost dogs were an issue for police. They don't want to deal with lost dogs. They have better things to do. EDOA put together a trained team of personnel that would help the police and cooperate with the police in helping to find lost dogs. We educate, we train for the safety, health, and we provide wild animal awareness. We can do this. One thing that is most clear in preparing for this meeting is the number of people that are passionate about having this simple life pleasure. It's important to us, even to those not handling their dogs off leash. We have 160 petition signatories so far in the packet I left you. There are dozens of impassioned testimonials that we have collected for you to go with the ones that have been sent to you directly. We know how valued this activity is. I hope you will know it as well. I urge the Open Space Committee and CONSCOM to engage the dog owners in solutions that do not unnecessarily restrict and alienate this large cohort of citizens and our guests. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. All right, anybody want to follow that? Cindy.
I will, of course.
Cindy, you're a star in I saw the Independent
saw
today,
that, yeah.
your birds.
Big and little, can you hear me? Big and little L. Yes, I'm Cindy Nickerson. I think everybody knows me, and I just about know everybody here in the room. We're all dog lovers, or most of us are. I myself go to Wiley Park 365 days a year, unless I'm sick, Mother Nature, or there's an election. I do want to mention Wiley Park. Many people comment, oh, it's a dog park. And I always correct them, no, it is not a dog park, it is a park that allows dogs. And there's a big distinction there, and we have to have respect for that. I also want to mention the word park. I had to look up in the dictionary what it means, what's the definition. It doesn't quite fit, but it says a large public green area in town used for recreation. And I underline recreation. It's a walk around the park. I have a hard time myself understanding the park and conservation. I understand conservation oversees the park, but most of us here go to the park for recreation, whether it just be walking the trails. I believe, as we all are concerned about the whole Wiley Park, conserving it, keeping it the way it is, whether you want to go back to 1651 or not, I don't know if that's possible, but certainly we do want to continue to use it. Having my dog off leash means the world to me. And honestly, I won't go there if I have to keep my dog on a leash. The listening session here tonight, what I want to convey is
there are ways to work together. My thought, as Ed mentioned with the EDOA, he didn't say, at least I didn't hear him say, that the funds that we collect as Eastham Dog Owners Association, we do supply probably over 1,000 poop pickup bags, and our volunteers fill them weekly. We also, well, we have the pickup parties, and he's not kidding you when he says it's more fun than you think. And we involve with the community. We have a rabies clinic this weekend. We're volunteering to help. And we also have a pet first aid on Sunday, which is we're coordinating. So my point being is we are involved with this community. We want Wiley Park to succeed. We ask conservation and open space and want to volunteer with 1651. We want to make it work. The only other thing I'd like to mention is monitoring Wiley Park. The beach stickers or the parking stickers that you need, it worked. The area in the back where people used to come and park and cut through, they'd come up from out of town, this is a great place, which it is, and then they were getting tickets. And then that slowed the traffic down. Unfortunately, what happens at 4 o'clock, they know that no one's going to be ticketing them. So at 4 o'clock, it's all hell on wheels to the water. So perhaps we can work on that. That's not my preview as far as who's doing what, but that's just a suggestion. And I think, the only other thing I want to say is there are a bunch of false rumors out there, fake news, and small dogs do like to go to Wiley Park off leash, are not afraid of big dogs. And I can tell you for a fact that my dog is sometimes very fearful of those little dogs. And the last thing I want to say is Brewster Park, I've been there, done that, don't want it. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
I don't know if I want to follow Ed and Cindy, but I guess no one else was coming up. I also belong to the Dog Association. My name is Anthony Cantor.
Thank you.
It's my understanding that the Conservation Commission draws their authority to manage Wiley Park from the Massachusetts Wetlands Act. I've learned from a very reliable source that there isn't anything in the Wetlands Act that provides you with the authority to regulate rules on dogs. I challenge anyone to show me where dogs have done extensive damage at Wiley Park. The heavy rains we have experienced the last several winters have done more damage to the park than dogs. Anyone who's walked the park, particularly that top left picture, after the rains in the winter, see more and more roots exposed, not caused by dogs, caused by the rains. Also, the heavy equipment that the town used to clear the paths at Wiley Park did more damage than any dog has done. As for any incidents with dogs, there have been very few and far between. I strongly oppose changing the regulations on dogs at Wiley Park, although it is highly questionable that you have the authority to do it. It seems like the committee's basis for bringing this issue up is more about personal and political bias about dogs than based on fact. I've already said I am a board member of the EDOA, and we want to protect our dog owners and dogs, but we also tremendously value the great asset we have here in Eastham, Wiley Park. We want to protect the environment there as much as any of the other residents. We are also more than willing to do our part to protect the park. Thank you.
Thank you. No. Because you're going to digest everything. We have someone else up there.
Hi there. So I'm Steve Gulrick. I'm president of the 1651 Forest Project. And so I think we have the best dog association on Cape Cod. We couldn't ask for any more devoted people. I've had a dog before. I've been here 40 years and walked the park. I live right across from the park. And I've been here 40 years doing that. Engaged with restoring as many native species now into the park as we can. I think there are two things that really need to be considered here as well, is that there are some people that don't like the fact, and are afraid of dogs, for example, and they have a right to be in the park too. We need to consider that in whatever we're going to be here doing as a town. Not 90% of the people that come, even in the summer, pick up after their dogs, I'm sure. A lot of loose dogs run into the woods, and nobody goes there because we have ticks going crazy now, and be foolish to try to chase them into the woods. We have a difficult situation, as far as I'm concerned, with public media, public information going out over the social platforms, where people are coming here the last few years, especially with COVID and everything going on. It's a really serious problem. It's not just more people in town, it's all the people that are coming and visiting, and people from all over. I don't know how we're going to deal with that piece, but I would like to see the town address that issue, or the committees, and at least talk about it and where we can go. And consider the people that are afraid. I mean, I go around and I'm always there, and I love the dogs, and I had one a long time, and she ran. And I put my hand down, and sometimes when you get a bunch of dogs together, they get a little packy. And one of them rushes right up and scares the hell out of, not me, because I'm not afraid. But when someone shows fear, and you know what? They never come back and enjoy this park. So there are people that have expressed that to me, and I just want to point that out. They need to be considered in this voice.
Thank you.
Rob Hess, I live here in Eastham. I wasn't prepared to say anything, but I just want to address the last comment that this gentleman made. Those people that may have an issue, might be a little scared of dogs, they have everywhere else in town to go. Everywhere else in town to go. If we want to walk our dogs, this is the only place that we can go. Everywhere else in town.
I'm going to jump in here and say, no, that park is for everyone. It's not just for dogs. So, yeah. All right, anyone else?
Just a quick advertisement. I thought Steve was going to mention it, again, 1651. If anyone would like to volunteer, Saturday, April 22nd, 9:30 to 11:30, we have trees all purchased, vegetation, actually not trees this time because we couldn't get scrub oak, and we will be planting just outside the area of where the fencing is, because we're moving on. And also to address other, just educationally, where those trees were all fall down in the winter years ago, we planted scrub oaks in there. We're planting all over Wiley Park. If you go to the 1651 website, you can see all the mapping of all the trees we planted all over Wiley Park. And Steve mentioned years ago, many times we did campaigns in invasive species. We went in there and cleared out a lot of invasive species. So the committee is just about taking care of the natural resources. I'm not here to poo-poo dogs. As at the beginning of my speech, my comments, I said, I want the dogs there. I never said no dogs. And I didn't say, you guys aren't picking up after your dogs. There are people that don't do it, though, okay? And I've seen it. But I don't really care what we do about the dogs at this point, as long as the people that have dogs appreciate the natural resources and try to litigate whatever use that we're doing. Because the rain is not the only thing doing. Again, it's the people walking and beating up the trails and packing down everything and open up areas. That's what's doing it. This is not a dog issue. We're making this thing a dog issue, and it really isn't. the mitigation's coming from septic and the natural resources, but there is a little bit of the poop that goes into the water. We eliminate that, which you've done a good job at. We can mitigate that. The other mitigation is where we walk and how we destroy the vegetation. It's simple. This isn't a dog against no dog issue.
Jamie?
Hi, my name's Jamie Dimitri. I'm speaking for myself as an individual tonight. I wanted to first say I'm also a member of the Eastham Dog Owners Association, and I do think it's a phenomenal resource in town. I'm always really impressed with the amount of work that goes into what they do and their communication. I'm a big fan. There were 3 things I kind of took away listening to everybody tonight, and I was just going to reiterate them since everybody was making some points. One was signage. There's the complaint that there's too much signage or there's not enough signage, but maybe we're looking at something where it's just not the right signage. We do have folks in town that are both artists and sign specialists, and I'd be happy to help out if you wanted to pursue it, but what they do is they focus on signage that's cohesive and communicates a full message, because what happens is when you start to piecemeal your signs together, you end up with either miscommunication or it's not clear or this sign looks different than this sign. But when you have a cohesive project that one person takes on to create a whole message, sometimes that helps clean up some of the miscommunication. So something to consider is hiring a signage specialist who does municipal signage work for that project. 2, the next thing I heard, and I do believe this truly, I think the folks that live here and have dogs really respect and follow rules, and we're here because we love it here. We're not trying to destroy it. That's obvious. That's why we live here. But we live in a resort community that's dependent on tourism, and it's not just dogs. I mean, we face issues with uneducated visitors with all sorts of arenas in this town, and I think that this space is one of them, where it's not the small group of year-rounders that are here doing the right thing. It's the people that come here, don't know the rules. Some of them probably don't care. A lot of them might care and would respond to some education. And so visitor education, I think, is major. I think everyone here knows. It's the people that show up here for a week that don't. So that's also major. And the third, I heard the word alternatives, and that really resonated, because I think that that's something everybody needs to think about moving forward in this town. There's more people. There's more dogs. There's more of us. And so I don't think anyone, I know no one that I ever talk to wants to put the squeeze on dog activity or put the squeeze on places for dogs to go. I don't want to. I like taking my dog places. But I think that if we are seeing impacts in a way to a space that are questionable, we need to really think about, well, what's the alternative then? If we're going to do A, how are we going to offset our actions? There's always needs to be alternatives for folks. So that's my little summary. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamie. All right. I guess that's it. Oh, wait. We have one more. One more contestant.
Jim Chapin. I'm an Eastham resident, part-time for about 12 years, and for the last 5 years full-time. So,
welcome.
Walk my dog at Wiley Park quite often, but the bigger issue for conservation is the effects of climate change and the forest management in the park. Forest management's been pretty laxed. There's trees that fell down are now infected with turpentine beetles that are leaning on healthy trees. They're going to kill them eventually. So I think that's more important to deal with than picking on dogs. That's all.
Hold on, I have someone at the other mic right now.
My name is Michael Harnett. I am an Eastham dog owner. I am chairman of the 1651 committee, and I'm on the conservation committee. I think this is good because we're bringing up the awareness, and we welcome the help of the Eastham dog owners. You guys did great on picking up the poo when there's a problem. When where the fencing is, that was torn up by dogs, and we had to replant it. We are spending $1,500 to $2,000 a year, and the last 4 years, all we're doing is remedial work. So we welcome, now that you people are aware, it seems to us that it's the packs, when dogs are in a pack. So either they can be tighter controlled, or you're aware that the dog packs are a problem, and we welcome you to help control this. We will be planting again, and what we're doing this time is we're going to close off some trails. And every year, this is what we've been doing. We've been putting in planting where, and that's dog. I have a dog. I walk my dog in Wiley Park. Dogs are dogs. They will dig. They will tear up things. All you have to do is watch them, bring them out as much as you can. That's really all we're asking for. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi, my name's Steve Smith. Credentials-wise, I spent 10 years on CONSCOM, about 6.5 of that as chair. I was on open space. I'm now on 1651.
Made the rounds.
Yes. I have a degree in biology from 1.5 million years ago. So I actually know about evolution and climate change. I've only lived here 35 years. And time is a funny thing as to how recent things are. But I do walk in Wiley anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, and I have not seen appreciable erosion. And that is where this whole discussion started out as. The area where that log is, where people do take their dogs in to get wet, was last summer 4 feet deeper into the pond than it is now, because the water in the pond was 14 inches shallower last summer. And if you watch how the water table has come back and where the water table sits, there are little ponds all along the walking trail from the parking lot and the beach to the plantings that are now full, that were empty because of the water table. And that one area where you have the log at the far southern end, then you have the pathway between the fencing that other people have used for their dogs. And in my memory, it's kind of forever and ever. And then what could be considered a new one to the north side of the fencing. That area is right at water table, at the elevation-wise, right at the surface of the pond. So anytime we get rain, that gets damp. But the point is, the erosion is more due to the topography of the area and the rain than it is the dogs. And that area in front of the plantings is sand. It pretty much always has been sand. It's very soft. So yes, when a dog's paw walks in there, it leaves a print. And when I walk in it, we leave a print. So maybe we should put the dogs on snowshoes and we all walk in snowshoes and get around that problem. But the whole point is that there may be anecdotal incidences of multiple dogs, but I don't think it's the rule. At least in my times that I go through the park, it's not the rule. And if you watch a dog or a coyote or a fox track through the underbrush, what do? They take the path of absolute least resistance and stomp on as little as they possibly can, because they don't want spikes in their paws, they don't want to get tangled up in the pricker bushes, yada, yada, yada. So we just have to be very careful not to ruin an asset that the town has that could set the town back. I mean, you know that old saying, I love it here, so I moved here, but I bring where I was here, and now here's not what it is, but it's where it was. And
Lost you somewhere in that, but
we
I know what you mean.
we don't need that. I've already, in 35 years, I've watched true curmudgeons and characters disappear from this area. And that's a freaking shame. So be very careful how you, if you're going to base it on erosion, let's have some analytical facts and not anecdotal ideas, especially when you consider that there's a group in here that has an intimate knowledge of the day-to-day in there far greater than some of the others. Thank you.
Hi, Scott Anderson. You hear me?
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to add to his point that, you know, the erosion that's taking place in that front area by the fence, the snow fence, that's the evolution of the forest. I've been studying forestry for my whole life. I got a degree from Stockbridge School of Agriculture. So I kind of know what I'm talking about there. But that front line of trees, those pines, they grow to a certain height, and then the wind coming from the ocean and off the pond knocks them all down. Now, initially, the pines prevent anything from growing underneath it. And then when those pines die, the needles don't drop anymore to protect the land, so they become clear. And the rain comes down. We go in there every single day, and I see those trails just get washed away. It's not the dogs. It's a natural evolution. Those pine trees, they're crap. They're not real trees. So what happens is the second generation of nurse trees start growing, and the oaks that they put in, the scrub oaks. So the forest regenerates itself, or with help from the Conservation Committee. But to say it's the dogs, it's not. It's those pine trees protected that area with the pine needles that dropped. It created a mulch so that they didn't get rain or washed away. But as soon as those trees died, there was nothing there to prevent it, to hold the soil. So I just wanted to add that. It's not the dogs, it's nature. You know, you gotta work with it.
Thank you.
Let me see if you can hear me. My name is Patty Anderson. I'm his wife. Know nothing about forestry. But I just wanted to address one thing is the packs that we've heard about tonight. I go to Wiley Park almost every day, and I started just meeting two of my girlfriends with two of their dogs, and it turned into something bigger. The pack started during COVID. During COVID, nobody had anywhere to go but Wiley Park. Nobody spoke to anybody, we were all trapped at our houses. So when people were out at Wiley Park, we were walking with our dogs, we would start talking, and it did turn into groups. Sometimes there would be 3 or 4 dogs. I think the most dogs I've ever seen at once, I want to say maybe about 10. Somewhere around 10, maybe on a Saturday morning when people aren't working. But those packs and that conversation that we had, it got us through COVID. So I know it's really easy to say, well, those packs, people are afraid of the packs, and there were packs at Wiley Park, and they did more damage. They're gone now. We talk about it now because nobody's there. When you go into Wiley Park, most of the time, I don't even see another dog. But the packs, they're gone. They've broken up. I think a lot of our issues have sort of fixed themselves. We noticed when people went back to work, we're all back to work now, we're not there as much, and nobody else is there as much. But getting back to 2 years ago when COVID was really bad, or can't even remember now, 3 years, 1 year, Wiley Park got a lot of people through COVID that live alone, that wouldn't have seen another human being, wouldn't have talked to another human being, all ages, young, old. We talked about everything. And those packs, as much as we didn't like them, and maybe they were a little intimidating at the time, they're gone. And they served a really great purpose for people during a really horrible time. So I hope we can kind of put that behind us. And maybe even look forward, maybe start to monitor the crowds a little bit, see what it's like in the winter versus the spring versus the fall versus the summer. But I just hate that we're trashing the packs, and they were a really big help for a lot of people. So that's it. Thank you, everybody up here, for your time.
My name is Linda Finkrell, and I was attacked by a German Shepherd when I was young, so I'm kind of intimidated by big dogs, so I don't go over there, and especially a group of dogs. But seeing this crowd of people, and they're talking about all the fun they're having over there every day, I'm going to go get a damn dog now.
I wanted to respond to the concern of people who are truly afraid. I think there are a couple things that can be done, and one is for dog owners to train their dogs for leash. So you say leash, and the dog has to come and be on the leash. The other thing is if your dog is down the trail and someone is approaching, hold up your leash and say, do I need to leash my dog? That's what I do. And I have to tell you, 9 years, 2 people have said, please leash your dog. Come in, snap the leash on, step off the trail, the fraidy people go by, and we continue. Or the road forks, we're going this way, and just let them know. So that's a good thing. Another thing I thought of, suppose we had a designated time, like the swimming pool, when all the kids have to get out and the grown-ups go in. Well, suppose we designated an hour that said, people who don't want to encounter dogs at Wiley, come at this time. Everybody else, come the other times. Yes. You know, there are workable solutions, so I put that forward. And thank you very much for entertaining this discussion.
All right, not seeing any more movement. Thank you, everyone. They're going to have the follow-up. Yes, they're gonna list, right? Isn't that the next slide? Yeah. No, that's all right. Uh-oh, it's not on this. Oh, there it
Can I
is.
just say one more thing? I was really listening to Jamie's suggestions, and it made me think of something. I don't know if this is possible, but you know, we give out rental certificates to everyone who wants to who rents a house in this town. So I was thinking if anybody, you know, if the committees wanted to, with input, come up with usage rules about, you know, for Wiley Park or all our parks, maybe we could devise something and hand it out with the rental certificates.
I think they do, City, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that does happen, the dog rules. Yeah, we have rules about dogs. But the pamphlets, and I would hope that the rental companies have them when they.
The town gives out the rental
Right.
certificates.
Yeah, but those are to the
owners.
To the owners.
That's
so
right. Well, then it would be.
A lot of them use management companies and things like that, so it does get a little hard to
So do
make
we
sure.
maybe give them? So we give them to the rental agents.
Yeah, I think Cindy might.
I
have
think
a little
that's a
answer
very
for
good
you there.
suggestion. A lot of times what happens is the renters come in and they don't know, that they can't go to the beach, the town beaches, they don't know this. It's a very good suggestion, and maybe what we can do is certainly go to the Board of Health and have them, this is the rules about dogs. You are? Do you work for the town? I mean, you work with care? You're the Board of Health. But you don't handle all the paperwork that you hand out to all the renters. But I mean, it's a very good suggestion, but that's what I see, is that a lot of the renters come in and they really don't know. So it's again, there's that education.
Right.
So, okay.
All right, thank you, everyone. So, going forward, you mean?
Yeah.
Well,
If on the May 2nd meeting, the Conservation Committee suggests possible rule changes, and then we have a hearing in late May to hear about those possible rule changes. Where does that go from there?
yeah, that's out of my wheelhouse.
Okay. So what we're going to do after this session and the next session, and after we get all of the letters and emails, is the Open Space Committee is going to sit down and review that, and then they're going to sit down with the Conservation Commission on May 2nd, and if we decide to make some changes, and it's pretty clear that there's some support for leashing in the parking lot, so that might at least be one, then we will draft regulations, make them available publicly for review. It will then have a public hearing, which will be legally noticed in the newspaper 21 days ahead, and then a second notice in between that time, at which time everybody who wants to come and talk about it, ask questions, make comments, is welcome to come, and we'll consider those before we vote on regulations.
So the board could still vote, it's the board's vote whether anything gets implemented?
It's the board's vote, and to answer somebody's comment earlier, the Conservation Commission is responsible for conservation lands under the Conservation Commission Act of 1957. That's, I have the... That would be Mass General Laws, Part 1, Title 7, Chapter 40, Section 8C. It's not under the Wetlands Protection Act, it's under an earlier act from 1957. So I will take, if there's more questions about process, I'd be happy to answer those. About process. Can you come up to the microphone so that everybody can hear you, please?
Hi, my name's Marley Gilderhouse, and I'm an Eastham resident. And my question is, so we are sitting here tonight sharing our thoughts and ideas and going back and forth, and it's going to happen again on Zoom, and then there'll be another meeting, and then the Conservation Committee the board will then decide, and the people that actually live in the town will not have any more input, so whatever you decide at your board meeting will be it?
Yes.
So how do you get to be on the Conservation Committee?
Well, there is the there is a public hearing, so there is public input on any regulation changes.
Right, we're giving you input now. Okay, but
This
we're
is not the
all
public
right.
hearing.
Okay, but
This
how do you
is-
get
this
to
is
be
a-
on the Conservation Committee?
Well, if there's an opening, you apply through the town website. You come and interview with the chair and the committee's select board liaison, who's Suzanne Bryan.
Because, wait, I have a question, because there were, wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there were two gentlemen that got up and spoke and knew a lot more about erosion and reasons for the park falling and crumbling the way that it is, but they're not on your board, correct? So who on your board has that that knowledge to make these decisions about? I do. Okay, so
And I
you
do.
know- So if you understand.
Folks, hold on, I'm just gonna reel it in. Okay, I'm just gonna reel it in, just a little moderation here, okay? Because it got a little open with questions, because it's supposed to be a listening session, but I just want to remind folks that if you want to be on a committee, any board or committee, there's a whole interview process.
Okay.
It's a process that goes into the selection. Some boards, the select board decides, some are appointed, they vary. The people that are on the boards go through ongoing education. They are there for a reason. Once in a while, there are situations, but for the most part, people are there for a reason. Tonight, I have no doubt we have a lot of educated people. Anyone can get up and speak, and anyone can say anything they want. So bear that in mind tonight. So this is just to get up and speak. But it's a matter of respect that these people do a lot of work for the town.
I understand that.
Everybody up here,
Yeah.
a lot more work than I do.
Right, and I thank you.
So I just want folks to remember that. If there are more questions about process tonight, we can take a couple more questions about process only. So I think that answers the question.
I guess that's not a question, I just want to comment on.
Okay, we're doing questions about process right now. That is it. That's what moderating is doing. I'm just trying to keep the meeting flowing. So if you have a question about process, we can take that.
Okay, yep, I just want to make sure that the people that live in the town actually get to decide on what happens
Absolutely.
at Wiley Park.
Absolutely. Yeah.
not just a board of people that I respect, spend a lot of time and volunteer and put in a lot.
That's
but-
why we're all here, and
Yep.
there will be another public forum after you deliberate, so,
Okay.
okay. And the timeline will be posted on your website too for the,
This presentation will be posted on our website. We can post the timeline as well. So the next session is Zoom only on April 19th. That's next Wednesday, starting at 6 p.m. The Zoom information is available on the town website. If you want to share additional comments or even ask questions, you can send them to conservation@eastham-ma.gov or through the regular mail. And we'd like to thank you for participating tonight.